Hello my awesome viewers, my name is A-Lex and this, well, in this video I am going to be reading WWE Fanfiction. Specifically fanfiction about Dean Ambrose, now known as Jon Moxley, and Roman Reigns. Now I'm not going to tell you the name of the person who made the story, what website I found this on, even the name of the story, because I want to keep the person anonymous, of course, in case, I don't want anybody to go and try and find their stories and make fun of them or something, because they're going to be embarrassed enough if they come across this video. I kind of don't want to get into this. I haven't read any of it. Well, I've read a few of the first sentences, but I don't know, I'm kind of scared. But let's just jump right into it. Here we go. Bad WWE Fanfiction. I don't know if this is a series. If I can survive this, maybe it'll be. I don't think it's going to be though. Here we go. Dean groaned as he put down a heavy box and then straightened up. A warm smile crossed his face as he looked around. His phone rang and he looked at the time. 11:20 a.m. His smile widened, knowing exactly who it was. "Hey, Ro," he answered, hearing a fond laugh on the other side. "Hi, baby boy. How's the unpacking?" Roman asked. Good. I just got the box with the Christmas decorations and your mom's photo albums," Dean replied, looking at the box. "Bet it was heavy," Roman said, knowing how his mom was a hoarder of photo albums. "You have literally no idea," Dean replied with a grin that Roman could practically hear through the phone. Yes, and he smiled. That makes sense. Excuse me. "Okay, I'm bringing home Chinese food later, so don't worry to cook. I'll see you later, baby boy. Have fun unpacking," Roman said, teasing him at the end. "Have fun with all your clients, Mr. Big Shot Lawyer," Dean replied, teasing him back. What the fuck? So Roman Reigns is a lawyer now, in case you didn't know. I mean, didn't you hear the news? It was all over the place. All over wrestling Twitter. "I love you," Dean smiled big and wide and bit his lip at Roman's statement. "I love you too. Bye, Ro," Dean replied, and they hung up. Dean smiled and put the phone down. He took up a box cutter and opened the box. He grinned at the first thing he saw. It was the ugliest teddy bear Santa ornament that you'd probably ever see in your life. The eyes were lopsided, and they painted teeth on it, so that the ornament looked like the bear from the Five Nights at Freddy's game. But God, did Dean love that damn thing. Good fucking Lord. Him and Roman had got it on their first Christmas as boyfriends. They had bought a little Charlie Brown Christmas tree, and Dean had dragged Roman to a shady flea market, and they had bought the little terror teddy decoration. They had hung it on their tree ever since. Do you think that Dean Ambrose knows what Five Nights at Freddy's is? Jon Moxley, I'm sorry. Dean pulled out the album of Tricia's pictures, and he paused before putting it down. He sat on the floor and opened it. The first picture was of Roman in his college football gear, and Dean remembered that was exactly around the time that he had met Roman. This is... okay. Dean had never been a family man. He always looked down on love. His parents didn't have a good relationship at all. His dad had become horrible when he was 5 years old. Barely old enough to remember all the details, but old enough to remember all the cursing and shouting and the throwing things. I wonder what Dean would think about somebody writing a fan fiction about him and putting in that his father was oh, never mind. All the times that his dad would come home drunk and his mom would piss him off, sometimes intentionally, and he wouldn't hesitate to give her... I'm not going to read that part. When Dean was 17... What the fuck? When Dean was 17, he had left home and had just walked till he came upon this cafe. He went in, sat down, and that was the beginning of Dean's happy ending. You were in college, working part-time, waiting tables. Left the small town, never looked back. I was a flight risk, with a fear of fault. I just realized these are song lyrics they put to be. I think it's Taylor Swift. I think they mentioned that at the beginning. Wondering why we bother with love, if it never lasts. That was the day he met Roman. All thick and tanned and gorgeous. He had come from Pensacola, Florida. Yes, that's where they announced him from. And was here for college. After he and Dean had talked for a bit, Dean had thought Roman was so interesting. He found out that Roman had a pretty rough upbringing as well, and that he'd never even consider going back to Pensacola. Dean knew he had a crush on the bigger man, but he was a bigger man. I mean, okay. Now, if we're going college years, and if we look back on John Moxley, younger, he was skinnier. But saying bigger man as if Roman is just like 7 feet tall. I think Dean's actually, or John, I just call him Dean because that's who he is in the story. I'm pretty sure he's taller than Reigns in real life, but whatever. That one worked for the narrative, dude. We gotta change it. Dean knew he had a crush on the bigger man, but he was so scared. Relationships never worked out anyway, so what's the point of trying? Dean smiled and kissed Roman's face in the picture. He was scowling at the camera. Classic footballer pose, and decked out in gold and green, and Dean's chest burst with adoration as he looked at his then-boyfriend through the shiny gloss of the album. He turned the page, and his grin widened. The next was one that Roman's mom had taken. It was taken at the beach, possibly a few weeks after Roman had told his mom about him and Dean. That's right. Dean went back to the cafe every time his parents had an argument. For no reason whatsoever. Yeah, right. And Roman was always there for him to talk to. By the way, the "yeah, right" part was actually in the story. He had really helped Dean out, Roman. Bit by bit, broken down Dean's walls, and of course, Dean fell for Roman's charms, and they finally had gotten together. Here comes more song lyrics, folks. Can you guess the song? It's time to play. Can you guess the song? Do you remember we were sitting there by the water? You put your arm around me for the first time. You made a rebel of a careless man's careful child. You're the best thing that's ever been mine. If you can guess the song lyrics correctly in the comment section below, I won't care. Anyway, the picture. Roman and Dean's backs were facing the camera. The sun was setting. We're about halfway through, by the way. The sun was setting. And wait, let me go back to the beginning because I messed it all up. Okay. The sun was setting and Roman had put his arm around Dean for the first time. They had decided to take everything really slow because Roman believed that if he dove headfirst with the romantic stuff, that he'd scare Dean off. Dean laughed and shook his head as he stared at the picture. Excuse me. That was the moment Dean kinda knew. He really wanted to be with Roman. Roman, without knowing it, had broken all of Dean's defenses, and truly, Roman hadn't taken long to fall in love with Dean either. Dean was innocent and smart and funny and just all around lovely. And Roman was smitten. This doesn't sound like Dean Ambrose at all. Dean was the best thing that Roman had. There's more song lyrics. I'm not reading them. 6 months later, Dean had known Roman was something special. Roman depended on Dean, and Dean depended on Roman. It was a partnership at its finest, where they were equals. They took on everything together. When Roman's mom had found out about Dean's home situation, she insisted that Dean stay over at least twice a week, so he'd be able to get away from the chaos for a few days, and that's why Dean had a drawer in Roman's bedroom that had his socks and underwear and a few suits of clothes. Roman even had a spare toothbrush next to Roman's in the bathroom. Wait, Roman even had a spare toothbrush next to Roman's in the bathroom. Oh. So Roman had two teeth brushes. I don't know how to say it. Okay, we get it. When Dean had told his parents about Roman initially, they crushed all his dreams. Told him that Roman would leave him like a whore. As soon as the next season, the next flavor of the month showed up, that was the theme of all football players. Dean had sat in Roman's arms and cried all night. What the fuck? Great picture, by the way, in the background here. I'm very proud of that. He ended up telling Roman every single thing. From the first fight he ever experienced because of his parents to the last fight when they said crap about Roman. Roman, though, God bless him, had taken everything in stride, understanding exactly why Dean had such a hard time trusting people. That night, Roman took Dean tightly into his arms and promised him. Dean remembered this conversation clearly, just like it had happened an hour ago. I know you probably won't believe me, but I swear, we'll be different, babe. We won't be anything like them. We'll make it. We won't ever make your parents' mistakes, Roman promised, stroking his fingers through Dean's curls. Doesn't really have curls in that picture. I love you so much, and Dean said nothing in return. Just buried his face more in Roman's chest. More song lyrics, yada yada yada, that's ever been mine. Careless man's careful child. I think it's the same ones as the other one, actually. Other ones. They had gone to the lake after Roman's exams were over. Dean had just started college, studying to be a child psychologist. What? And they had gone to the lake on the other side of town. That was the first time anyone had ever touched Dean. Anyone had ever laid a finger on this man, because he's so disgusting. He blushed at the memory. Roman was so gentle, taking his time to map out every inch of Dean's body under the stars. The lake reflected the stars beautifully that night. Dean was made love to by the man that he believed in. I've never heard of someone say made love to by the man that he believed in, but this is the first time that he loved. Dean knew that if he asked, Roman would cut open his chest and give Dean his heart. The fuck? Is that what Dean's into? Shit, dude. Stay away from him. Renee, run away. And he believed truly that Roman's heart was the best thing that Dean had ever owned. So Dean believed that Roman's heart was the best thing that Dean had ever owned, okay? Then it all went crashing down. And I would like to add that it also hurts inside. Dean turned the page and saw the frown on his face and the picture that Roman's mom had taken of them both. Roman was smiling, but it didn't meet his eyes, and Dean's eyes were dull. They had been fighting for a while lately because despite Dean letting Roman take his virginity, which was a more serious step in a relationship. You know, I mean, taking someone's virginity, it's kind of a serious step in a relationship. Not that much, but it's a little bit more serious. He still hadn't told Roman that he loved him. Maybe a small part of him was still scared and cautious that Roman would leave him one day. And Roman was tired of Dean doubting Roman's love, and it all came to a head the same night that the photo was taken. Dean remembered it clearly. Dean and Roman had never fought before. Roman always took everything with a grain of salt, always understanding Dean's issues and always being there for him when he needed someone. Dean had loved Roman then. Just the physical words, to say them to someone else, to let someone else know what you thought of them, how much they meant to you, then they'd leave you broken. He'd seen it 1,000,000 times before. Roman boiled over that night. Well, it was really 2:30 in the morning, and Roman and Dean were having a screaming match in Roman's empty house. His mom had gone back to spend the night by a lady from her sewing circle down the road, ignorant to the argument happening between her son and his boyfriend at that moment. "We've been together a year, Dean! You can't say that you love me! Am I wasting my time?" Roman asked. "What do you mean?" "Oh, wait. What do you mean?" Dean asked timidly. "I mean, am I just sitting by while you try to decide if you love me or not? Is it always going to be like this? Me having to beg to get your love?" Roman asked, voice getting louder, and Dean flinched. Why are they treating Dean like he's like this little scaredy cat? Like, dude, he's like scared of everything. "What do you want from me, Roman?" Dean asked back, his voice cracking with sadness and worry as he looked into Roman's tired, gray eyes. That just sounds weird. I want you to be sure of me, Dean. I want you to be sure if I'm the one you want," Roman yelled, grabbing Dean's shoulders. "Let go of me," Dean yelled and pushed Roman back. He panicked when Roman grabbed him, and he ran out, knowing he was losing everything. But he ran away. Anyway. Now, the next part has a little bit more random domestic abuse, so I'm going to skim over some things here. Roman cursed when he realized that every time Dean saw his dad grab his mom, blank, 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 and Roman immediately slid on his slippers and ran after him into the street and grabbed him gently, turning him around and pulling him into his arms, holding him tight as Dean weakly hit against his chest, trying to make him let go, but Roman would never let go. Roman pulled back and made Dean look at him. Dean was waiting for the inevitable. This was how all relationships usually ended. Happy endings were never on the horizon for Dean. He was stupid to believe Roman was difficult. Roman tilted his chin up so that Dean's eyes met his, and he smiled apologetic and warm. You're stupid if you think we're breaking up. Stupid. I hate you, stupid. You stupid motherfucker. I'm adding more stuff to that. He really said, you're stupid if you think we're breaking up. I love you, Dean. I'll never leave you alone, Roman admitted, and Dean's eyes widened in shock. What? He whispered, and Roman's smile widened. I remember how I felt when we were sitting by the water, Roman began. By the beach, watching the sun go down. I knew I loved you then. I knew I wanted to be with you forever, Roman said, cupping Dean's cheeks and making sure he kept his eyes on his own. Oh, okay, I get it. That was a little hard to understand at first. Since then, every time I look at you, it's like the first time when I saw you in the cafe, Roman continued, and then he smiled and looked honestly at Dean's eyes again. I fell in love with a careless man's careful child. That's the song lyric. And he is the best thing that's ever been mine, Roman said, and leaned down and kissed Dean, and was relieved when Dean kissed him back, fingers cradling his face to make sure Roman didn't move, and he held Dean closer and kissed him more intensely. Dean pulled away first, tears streaking his cheeks, and he looked up at Roman, eyes filled with honesty. I love you, Roman. Roman looked at him and blinked blankly. I just picture, you know, when AJ Styles debuted in the Royal Rumble and that face Reigns gave, like, huh? I just picture that after the kiss. And then he picked Dean up and spun him, kissing him while Dean smiled against his lips. The first time Dean said, I love you, was the first time he knew exactly how much Roman loved him, needed him, cherished him. Dean didn't deserve someone like Roman, but he was damn sure glad to have him. Why do you, like, hate... You love Dean, but you hate him in this story. He's this sad little puppy dog. He's a little scaredy cat. And now, you're saying that he doesn't deserve love. The fuck? Dean looked up from the photo as the front door opened and Roman stepped inside, closing the door quickly from the cold wind. He put the food down and blew into his hands. Why? He turned and paused, seeing Dean sitting on the floor with tears on his cheeks. Baby boy, what's wrong? Roman asked sadly, shrugging off his coat, hanging it on the hook. Wire. Okay, they said WHY apostrophe RE. Wire. I've never seen someone type that before, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just being stupid. Maybe that is something. But whatever. Why are you crying on the floor? He continued, walking over and sitting next to Dean. He tilted his head and looked at what Dean was looking at, and he smiled. He remembered that picture. He looked up and another fresh set of tears filled Dean's eyes. Oh, babe, he cooed, and brought Dean to lean against his chest, and he kissed the top of his head comfortingly. Dean pulled back and looked into Roman's eyes, and Roman saw nothing but honesty as he gave Dean a questioning look. Why was he looking at him like that? Was something wrong? Why had Dean been crying? Had Roman done something... Was Dean dying? Oh my god, you are the best thing that's ever been mine, Dean admitted, and he swore Roman's smile was about to split his face. See, they get like these parts where it's like all intimate and shit, and they say something weird like that. Roman Reigns' face was about to split in two. He said nothing. He just brought Dean's left hand up to his lips and pressed a kiss to the silver band on his fourth finger, a symbol of Roman's love. Well, folks, that is the end. There is one comment, and let's read it. It says, "Aw, this was so sweet." This was, by the way, this comment was left on Tuesday. Wait, it was left 2 days ago from the time that I was recording this. When was the story made? Oh, the story came out like a week ago. Okay. Well, I'm not going to just outright make fun of it. Okay? Because I understand. Some people have these fantasies that they want to get out in writing. I understand it. For me, it's more horror stories that I write, but to each their own. And I I'm just going to critique it in a way that is respectful by saying, Jesus Christ. This was all over the place. They just assumed you'd know things, and some of the ways they'd say stuff, like, for example, there was one point, where was it? Like, I don't know, I can't remember exactly, but there was a couple times when I'm like, good God, what the heck do you mean? Like, it just sounded like more, like, I don't know, violent than it was supposed to be, like Roman's face splitting into two because he was smiling so wide. And what's with all the frickin' domestic abuse, dude? Like, what the fuck? I couldn't even read most of that. It was just, whatever. I hope. I don't know how you could have enjoyed this, but maybe you did. Maybe you were turned on. Maybe you were turned on by the lovely image on your screen. Anyway, if you, for whatever reason, want to see more fanfiction reading of WWE stories, or really any stories that you can think of, I'd be happy to read them. Not really happy, but I mean, if you want to see them, I'll do them. So, if you want more, tell me in the comments below. If you never want to see anything like this ever again, if you want me to delete my entire YouTube channel, then tell me in the comments below. Like the video if you liked it. Dislike it if you disliked it. I understand. And I have been A-Lex, and I will see you later.